Praise the Lord, children. So today's story is about a man named Abram. Once there was a man named Abram who loved God very much and had faith in him. Abram and his wife Sarai lived in the city of Haran. Many of Abram's relatives also lived in the city. Sadly, Abram and Sarai could not have children. It must have been sad for them to think about how they would never have grandchildren and great-grandchildren. But this did not stop Abram from having faith in God. God loved Abram and Sarai, but God also loved all the other families in the world. So God made a plan to bless everyone. His plan was that he would use Abram and Sarai to begin a family that would become very, very big. Their family would be so big that it would be a nation. This nation would help the world. Everyone in the world would someday be blessed through Abram's family. So one day, God told Abram to leave his country and his relatives and to go to a new land that he would show him. God did not say where the new land was. He just told Abram to go and that he would show him later. Children, faith means believing something to be true even if you can't see it. Abram had faith in God even though he could not see him. In the Bible, the James, we read, faith without action is dead. That is in James chapter 2 verse number 17. Some people might say that they have faith in God but be too afraid or disobedient to obey Him. That kind of faith is like a dead faith. But Abram had a living faith. He trusted in God and was willing to do what He said. Abram and his wife, Sarai, began packing up everything they owned. Abram's nephew, Lot, and all of Abram's servants and helpers also joined them. Everyone would have been very busy for many days. They would have packed up all their things, loaded the big heavy objects onto their camels. Their servants and helpers would have gathered all of Abram's sheep and cows and donkeys for the trip. Finally, everything would have been ready. Abram and his relatives left their home country forever. Now they would live in tents and travel around wherever God told them to go. In the land of Canaan, God told Abram to have a good look around. Other people lived there, but someday Abram's children and grandchildren would own this land. They stopped in a place called Shechem so that Abram could build an altar of stones and worship God. Later, they stopped in a place called Bethel and did the same thing. Later, they would go to other places like Egypt. And Abram was not a perfect man who did the right thing every single time, but he continued to have a living faith in God, and God kept His promises to Abram and protected him. God had a special plan for Abram. And children, remember how Abram and Sarai had no children? God promised that would change someday. God wanted Abram to have a family that would bring blessing to everyone. God would start a great nation from Abram. In the future, children, do you know what? God would say to Abram, I will surely bless you and make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and as the sand on the seashore. Your descendants will take possession of the cities of their enemies, and through your offspring, all nations on earth will be blessed, because you have obeyed me. So children, there is something very important for all of us to understand from this story. That is, we all all should have a living faith like Abram. No matter, even though you cannot see what the future will hold, but we need to trust God's plan and God's will and live according to it and obey God in everything we do. Right, children? Till then, we will come with the next story next week. Praise the Lord. So for more such videos, please like, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel Aviva Grace.